This CBS.
Next on PM Magazine, Americans in Paradise. They traded in the corporate life for a chance to live in the South Pacific.
How lucky can you get?
Plus, behind the scenes of Sports Illustrated swimwear issue. It's all next.
Next time on Cheers.
I'm going down to the Cape this weekend for a little R&R. That's Rhonda and room service.
Sam and Diane are at it again.
I'll just continue on, secure in the knowledge that you love me.
But can she stand by her man while he spends the weekend with another woman? It's a romantic weekend for three.
I'm
Leaving immediately.
Diane.
Next time on Cheers.
Visit Cheers, Wednesday night at 11:30 on Channel 3.
Livingstone searches for a new president tonight at 11.
Join us tonight for an adventure in paradise. Ever want to give it all up and move to paradise? These Americans did. Starting with almost nothing, they built a hotel, got rich, and became legends as the Bali Hai Boys. Today, they live like Polynesian princes, married to beautiful Tahitian wives in a fabulous mountaintop home.
Then, these women inspire all America to flock to the newsstand for Sports Illustrated's annual swimsuit issue. Look at the candidates for Cover Girl of 1988.
Plus, a child of the Vietnam War finds the family she never knew she had.
All tonight from the islands of Tahiti with PM's Adventures in Paradise.
Welcome to the South Pacific and PM Magazine.
The mountain you're looking at is a familiar sight to anyone, I'm sure, who saw the movie South Pacific, because that is Mauaroa, which means big mountain. And in the movie South Pacific, that was the legendary Bali Hai. Isn't that gorgeous? Hi, I'm Maura Quinn.
And Bali Hai to you, I'm Bob Lacey. And I'll tell you, Maura, in all of the places we've been in the last 9 years, I think this exact spot is the most beautiful.
So gorgeous. Just what you think the South Pacific should be. We'll be showing you around Moorea in just a minute.
Now, there are a lot of bikinis walking around this island, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a good tie into our first story tonight. Today's the day that Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue hit the stands.
Now, every time anyone looks at that cover, you're bound to hear a lot of oohs and ahs, but not all of them are coming from the people who are just looking at them. Some of them are from the people who put that issue together, because that job is no day at the beach.
This is the time of year that most of us begin to dig ourselves out of a long, cold winter, a time when our thoughts travel to warmer places, and nothing gets us there faster than the annual Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Each year it signals the arrival of spring and the end of winter, with shots hot enough to take the chill off an old dog's nose.
Now, throughout the years, the swimsuit issue cover has gotten a reputation as kind of a star maker. It's introduced us to some supermodels, people like Cheryl Tiegs, Christy Brinkley, and Elle Macpherson. But in addition to being a star maker, it's also one of the best-kept secrets around. Up until a couple of days before the magazine is printed, no one, and I mean no one, knows who will be on the cover. And some people, including the models, really don't like to guess.
It makes it more exciting, you know? It makes it even more of a big deal.
I don't let myself get excited about things until, I'll be excited when it comes out.
Now, they may say they don't want to know, but who's kidding who here? Deep down inside, they all want that cover, because a cover means exposure, and exposure means success. Each year, the swimsuit issue mixes rookies with veteran players in hopes of finding that new face. For the past 24 years, producer Julie Campbell has assembled Sports Illustrated's Girls of Spring into a winning team.
When I chose my models this year, I took 3 new ones that I hadn't worked with. I took 3 that I had worked with several years. The reason you balance it like that is because the girls I've worked with before were my money in the bank.
This year's rookies were new to sports, but not to high-fashion covers. French beauty Estelle Lefebvre, homegrown Cindy Crawford, and Stephanie Seymour.
Julie called my agency, and she had me come to see her. But she said she'd been waiting. She said she saw pictures of me, about 2 years ago, and she was waiting more for me to get a little older, grow up a little bit, fill out a little bit.
everyone looks at Sports Illustrated. I mean, and it has your name in it, which is, if you can ever get your name in a story, it's great because it makes you not just a model and not just a face, it's a person. Your name becomes so much more well-known when you're in that issue.
SI's Money in the Bank All-Stars were Karen Alexander, Kim Alexis, Kathy Ireland, and Elle McPherson.
I'd like to go on for the rest of my life photographing Elle. She does no wrong in front of the camera.
The look Julie wanted this year was a natural look, a look they'd used in earlier swimsuit layouts. Her search took her out of sports and into high fashion when she signed French photographer Marquis Spard.
I know fashion photography, you know, this to try not to use a lot of light. You can feel it, you know. When you have a girl in your camera, you can feel it right away. But sexy, it's really on the, it's more on the eyes of the girl, of the way she's playing. With her body, with her eyes, that's it.
Another challenge for the magazine, as always, was the location.
I was running out of places. I was thinking Thailand and Bali, something exotic. We've never done Asia. The Olympics are going to be in that part of the world. I thought if people go to Seoul, they might stop off in Bangkok on their way.
Thailand represented more than its share of problems and conditions, from rain to religion. Some of the locals were less than happy about photographing young bodies in front of old shrines. They even had a run-in with Dumbo.
And I can touch the elephant, and one moment, 2 baby elephants, but for me, baby, it's like bigger than me, you know. They're coming around. I say, ah!
By now, you all know who hit the cover of this year's issue, and it was the most important choice of the whole project, because this is one book you do want to be judged by its cover.
I think it's a picture that will catch your eye. It's the first time we've had an all-black cover in many years.
Elle McPherson, again, she graces the cover of this yearly tradition, a tradition that says move over Groundhog Day, because the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue always means an early spring.
Have mercy. Tomorrow on our show, we're going to have the model who made the biggest splash. She is the woman who is on the cover of that issue. And, of course, that's very prestigious because they go on to become supermodels generally.
And, by the way, some of the previous issues of Sports Illustrated swimwear have been shot right here in the Tahitian Islands, especially here on Moorea. It's just a gorgeous spot. Now, a lot of you probably aren't familiar with Moorea. It's a sister island of Tahiti. It's just a little ways away, and getting here is really very easy.
Moorea is Tahiti's little sister, only 11 miles away and visible from most points on Tahiti's western shore. It's only 50 minutes by boat, but most visitors choose the 7-minute hop by air. Daily flights run from Papeete every half an hour or so from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. But if the flights are full, they'll take off every 5 minutes. Before you know it, you've left the city behind and found quiet Polynesian country life. Moorea has 6,000 inhabitants. The 37-mile road that encircles the island reveals lush volcanic peaks that soar above the crystal-clear lagoons. Moorea is a must-see for every visitor to French Polynesia.
The island of Moorea is also the home to 3 Americans who have become really legendary here in the South Pacific.
Yeah, they're called the Bali Hai Boys. They own Club Bali Hai, where we are right now, among other places. You're going to meet them next on PM Magazine. Some Americans who really had an adventure paradise.
Here we are again, Chevy and Ford, side by side. USAC tested them for performance. Standard half-tons with the best automatics and half-ton payloads. Results? The full-size Chevy beat Ford. Beat them in acceleration, highway passing, pylon course handling, level and uphill trailer towing acceleration. So how does Ford stand up to the Chevy with a Vortec V6? Still not very well.
Get new lower prices and $500 cash on many new CK Chevys now.
That's today's Chevy truck.
Remember the only boy back in 7th grade brave enough to give you a Valentine? He was more nervous that day than the day he married you. Remember him this Valentine's Day with an American greetings card from Eckerd. Because with Eckerd, you're never too busy to show you care.
To remember your loved ones this Valentine's Day, remember Eckerd, where you'll find savings on Whitman's, Brock's, and Hershey's candies, all the right Valentines, new Sensei cologne, and more. This Valentine's Day, spend your time loving, not shopping. Come to Eckerd.
Some people grow old gracefully, but after my stroke, I felt old. A new feeling. My son invited me to live with him, but I want to live in my home. So I called Kelly Assisted Living. My assisted living caregiver helps me with cooking, cleaning, and laundry, plus companionship and care. That's important. But you know what I like best? I just feel a lot better about life.
For companionship and care in your home, call Kelly Assisted Living.
This year, Heilig Myers is celebrating Washington's birthday with our lowest prices ever. That's right, these really are our lowest prices ever. And with approved credit, you can charge up to $1,000 with no down payment. So come see us while savings are best and take home incredible values, like this 5-piece dinette set for just $138. Washington's birthday sale, Friday, Saturday, and Monday at Heilig Myers. Happy birthday to you.
Welcome back to PM Magazine and the gorgeous island of Moorea here in the South Pacific. If you're like me, when you come to a place like this, you always say to yourself, boy, it would be something to live there and to work there, don't you?
Yeah, you better believe it. For most of us, though, the idea remains a dream. But for 3 Americans, that idea became a reality. And in the process, they became pretty much a legend in the South Pacific. These days, they're known as the Bali Hai Boys.
In the legends of the South Pacific, Bali Hai is the mystical island where people find complete happiness. A fantasy for most of us, but for 3 Americans, Hugh Kelly, Jay Carlisle, and Muck McCallum, the allure of Bali Hai has meant fame and fortune.
How lucky can you get?
28 years ago, Jay Carlisle and his 2 buddies from California risked it all for the chance to live in paradise. Today, they're multi-millionaires owning one of the largest hotel chains in the South Pacific. They're known as the Bali Hai Boys. Their adventure began on a whim.
And I can remember the day I sailed in the pass out there, I would look at this place and I said, boy, if I could ever live in a place like this.
Hugh Kelly was a 33-year-old lawyer on vacation when he first laid eyes on the Tahitian island of Moorea. Its exotic women and scenery were seducing sights, and reason enough for Kelly, Carlisle, and a 3rd friend, Muck McCallum, to quit their jobs to try their luck at bringing a rundown vanilla plantation back to life. Carlisle even sold his seat on the stock exchange, a move which many said was crazy.
A man, though I idolized it almost like a father, got me aside afterwards and he says, don't pay attention to those old guys. He says, this business, Los Angeles, New York, all that's always going to be here. You want to go to Tahiti? Go for an hour a day, 10 years, 20, 50. It'll always be here. Go for it. He was right.
Living in the South Pacific was everything they had dreamed about. Except for the vanilla crop. It failed, and in less than a year, the Bali Hai Boys were broke.
We were living down the road here, from here, in a kind of a shack that we had, and we were trying to get something going with the plantation, and a guy came on this property that is now this property anyway, and built a couple of bungalows, thought he was going to have a hotel, and it just didn't work out for him at all. But he said to us, why don't you guys take this thing over? Well, here we go on the Leaky Tiki. This is it, a real Leaky Tiki trip.
Then and now, one thing the 3 Americans knew plenty about was entertaining. So in a last-ditch effort to remain on Moorea, they decided to take over the half-finished hotel. They named it the Bali Hai. At first, it was rough going.
We didn't have any money to lose, so we had to do everything ourselves. We tended the bar and cooked the food and half the time served it, and every now and then had to make up the rooms, the whole thing. All right, have fun!
Eventually, their hard work and hospitality paid off. The guest list grew. They built 3 more resorts. It was Kelly's idea to give the Bali Hai guests an experience unlike any other. He designed the rooms as over-the-water bungalows, complete with a glass window in the floor for watching tropical fish.
Yeah, the other thing about the overwater bungalow, you just walk out here and you've got the whole ocean in front of you. You've got this marvelous view. The reef is right out there, the lagoon. It's really puts you close to it all, just where you want to be.
Their innovativeness attracted a celebrity clientele like Bob Hope, Harrison Ford, and Marlon Brando. It also earned them the legendary title as the Bali Hai Boys. Their lives became every person's fantasy.
We don't come to work on the freeway. We come to work in a pair of shorts. We drive off down the road to work, and we stop and talk to some guy fishing, and he's catching a lot of fish. You might catch a few yourself and then continue on. You don't actually get this feeling that you got to race where you're going, and once you get there, you know, you're kind of a lot more relaxed. We grow papaya there, avocados, grapefruit, limes. This is the breadfruit tree there.
The Bali Hai Boys also own acres of lush tropical gardens, which are the setting for their most prized personal possession.
We're getting ready to go up now. We had to build this road ourselves with cement blocks.
The road ends at the trio's mountaintop retreat. Kelly now lives in the hideaway with his 22-year-old wife, Vava. The view from the house is a constant reminder of the beauty that first lured the Bali Hai Boys into pursuing their dreams. Yet, somehow, you get the feeling, no matter where this trio set up business, happiness, fame, and fortune would have followed.
Now, we spoke to the third partner whom you didn't get to meet, Muck McCallum, on the phone, and he said that one of his favorite stories from the early days when they were doing absolutely everything was when a female guest came up to the desk and said to him that her toilet was boiling. He said, "What? A toilet can't boil." So he went and checked it out, and sure enough, the toilet was actually steaming and boiling and doing everything. The electrical current had reversed itself somehow, so
The Bali
lots
Hai
of things
Boys
go wrong.
to the rescue.
To the rescue, right.
there. Next on PM Magazine, an orphan finally finds her family.
Now, some things just weren't meant to be. You wouldn't make a milkshake with ice cream and water. Cereal with water? And who's ever heard of cookies with water? And what's this? Hot chocolate and water? They just don't mix. Hot chocolate was meant to be made one way, with better tasting and nutritious real milk. Hot chocolate with real milk. Now that makes more sense.
Being overweight is more than a state of body. It's a state of mind. Well, I did my homework and discovered Physicians Weight Loss Centers. It's not one of those tasteless diets. Their diet lets you eat real food, and it's professionally supervised and nutritionally sound. What's more, they're with you every day, every pound of the way. They help you keep it off, too. I feel so good now. Sure hope it doesn't go to my head.
Physicians Weight Loss Center.
Call the center nearest you today.
Who says Chevy's better than Ford? USAC tested standard half-tons with their best automatics and half-ton payloads. 0 to 60, 40 to 55, pylon course handling, full-size Chevy beat Ford. Level and uphill towing acceleration. Chevy with Vortec V6 beat Ford. Which truck should you be driving? USAC test just answered it.
Get new lower prices and $500 cash on many new CK Chevys now.
It's today's Chevy truck.
Look familiar? It should. It's a paycheck. And I'll bet a big part of yours goes to putting food on the table. But when you shop here at Winn-Dixie, there's a lot more left over. In fact, Winn-Dixie's everyday low prices mean savings that can add up to several $100s a year. That's a lot of money. Money you won't have by shopping somewhere else. So, it pays to shop here. Over 10,000 low prices every day. Winn-Dixie, America's supermarket.
15 years ago, the Vietnam War ended, and for many of the men and women who served during that war, it has taken that long for the healing to begin.
Now, a lot of people have been able to put their pasts and those war years behind them, but for the men who left more than just memories of Vietnam, there was no way to put all of that to rest until they went back in search of their pasts.
The end of the Vietnam War. For most GIs, it meant an end to fighting and a return to families and loved ones. But for some, it meant leaving families behind, families they might never see again. Barry Huntoon was one of those that left a family behind. He was an Army medic helping with the deactivation of soldiers in Sarang Valley, when in 1970 he met a French-Vietnamese street vendor named Tuyet Nguyen.
She was in pretty desperate straits, and I think at that point in my life I needed somebody to really care about. First it was just a caring, and then it turned into a real love.
Nguyen and Barry moved in together and conceived a child named Mai. But Barry wouldn't see that child. With his common-law wife 9 months pregnant, he was forced to evacuate Vietnam and leave her behind. A few months later, he was told she was dead, and that his child's whereabouts were unknown and untraceable.
I felt terrible. I think I walked around lost for a few years, kind of emotionally lost in a way. I think it takes a while to recover from something that was so traumatic. And it was very traumatic for me to lose someone I loved so much.
But Barry picked up the pieces of his life. He met a woman who shared his love of children. On their first date, he told her of his past.
We'd gone to the drive-in movies, and it was a really horrible film, so we decided to go have a picnic in the park. We bought a bottle of wine and went and sat in a park. And it was at night, big full moon. And he told me the story, and it was very sad, and we cried together.
In 1983, Barry and Laura got married. They started a new family with Amanda and Jonathan.
Actually, I think Fred Griffiths is a very
Then,
nice
2
person.
years later, while leafing through a Life magazine article, an article on Amerasian children in Vietnam, Barry saw a photograph that would open up the past.
And I turned the page, and I saw a little girl sitting there looking out at me from the picture. And I knew just right away that she was my daughter.
The photograph began what seemed like an endless quest to bring Barry's daughter to the United States, a quest that, because of America's fractured relationship with Vietnam, would cost thousands of dollars and generate thousands of pieces of paper. Barry still recalls the warning the Life magazine photographer gave him. Making contact could cause reprisals from the Vietnamese government.
I felt that for a while that I might even endanger her life if I even tried. And so for, I think, 5 or 6 months, I was afraid to even try to find her because of that. And then finally, I just knew I needed to do it more than anything.
I'm really, I guess not anxious, just really looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing her and Barry and getting them home.
But Barry and Laura persevered, and now 3 years later, the impossible has become possible. Vietnam has agreed to release Mai, and the United States has agreed to accept her. Barry has flown to Southeast Asia, picked up Mai, and soon will be reunited with Laura and their newest child, 4-month-old Brianna. It has been a long wait, but finally the door is open. The Huntoons could have given up years ago. Barry and Laura could have ignored the past, avoided old memories. But Barry never forgot his feelings and responsibilities for a young street vendor named Tuyet Nguyen.
The Huntoons tell us that Mai is adjusting very well to her new life. She cannot read or write English yet, but she does understand a lot of it.
They say she also likes Italian food and she likes MTV, but she does still prefer Vietnamese music. And they said, of course, the first thing she asked for was a pair of Levi's.
Next up on PM Magazine, we'll feast Polynesian style.
I have a question for everyone who thinks a big car is out of the question. Have you seen the new 1988 Honda Civic DX four-door sedan? It's a big car with plenty of legroom, headroom, hip room, trunk room, and vroom vroom. But it's a Civic, so it's a big car with a little price. See your Carolina Honda dealer today and choose from all sorts of Honda Civic four-door sedans. Big car, little price. Any questions?
He's still watching you. Stop, he'll think I'm interested. Here he comes.
Think fast. Think Breath Savers with fast-acting mint crystals.
He's nice, but he's leaving with me.
Think fast. Think Breath Savers.
Feeling good about yourself, feeling carefree. So much flavor in a sugarless gum. It's a feeling carefree.
Carefree gum has so much flavor, there's no other gum for me.
One of the best things about a Revco sale is that I save on the items I really need.
That's right. And check out Revco's great prices in this week's sales circular.
12-count Stay-Free Maxi Pads, regular, super, or deodorant, 2 for $3. Sure and Natural Maxi Shields, 12-count, 2 for $3. Stay Trim Dietary Gum in spearmint, peppermint, or cinnamon, only $1.49 with rebate. Revco has all your Valentine's Day cards, candy, and gifts. And see Revco's Valentine's Day sales circular for other great values.
When the sun goes down, gonna light up the night. Silver label, red ribbon, a taste that's right. Gonna light up the night. Michelob Light. Gonna light up the night. Wait for it. Light up the night. Wait for it. Light up the night. My Michelob Light. I'm gonna light up the night.
Now, most of you have either been to Hawaii yourselves or you know somebody who has, and you know that the first thing that a visitor there wants to do is go to a luau. The food, the music, it all seems to just capture the flavor of the islands.
Well, right here in French Polynesia, they have luau's, but it's a little bit different. This, my friends, is an adventure in eating.
For the Hotel Bali Hai, it's a 25-year tradition. For the Tahitian people, the tradition spans centuries. This is the Polynesian feast called Tama'a Ra'a, which literally translated means, we all eat a lot of food.
It all begins under a thatched roof hut called a whare, where an in-ground oven is built from hot lava stones and wood, covered with wet banana leaves and earth. After 6 hours, the local delicacies of roast pig, breadfruit, taro root, and poi, which is a dessert made from pumpkin bananas and coconut milk, are ready for the buffet.
This is a sumptuous affair with potato salad and coleslaw side by side with the more traditional selections.
This is fafa?
Yes, yes.
We don't have fafa where I'm from. Fafa, by the way, is a spinach-like green baked with chicken.
After the guests have eaten their fill, the entertainment begins.
The Tama'ara'a is a glimpse at Polynesian hospitality and joie de vivre that is a real adventure in paradise.
Now, they say it's very rare to be invited to a private feast that the regular Tahitians and French Polynesians will put together. But most hotels, when you come down here to the area, will throw one of the Tama'a Ra'as. Then you can go do it yourself. It's really lots of fun, and boy, you can get stuffed.
You know, sometimes when you have pineapple that comes out of a supermarket, it's a little bit sour. The pineapple here is just unbelievable. It's like nothing else I've ever tasted. Just wonderful. Hey, thank you for joining us here tonight on PM Magazine. We're here in the South Pacific all week long, and tomorrow night we'll come to you from Tahiti. Tomorrow again, it's PM in Polynesia. What a great place to introduce to you the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue cover girl. This lucky young beauty is now poised for fame and fortune.
Then, Lana Turner's daughter looks back at her turbulent childhood and relives the night she killed her mother's lover.
The thing I remember most of that night was the terror.
And werewolves could be real.
Yeah, I saw the eyes peering out through the fog.
Have a wonderful night. Please join us here tomorrow night at 7:30 for PM Magazine.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Air transportation provided by Air France with nonstop Boeing 747 service from Los Angeles to Tahiti, complete travel packages, and inter-island flights. Air France makes flying to this tropical paradise an experience to be treasured.